Unscripted, unshackled, uncouth.
What you're about to hear is for more mature audiences only.
It's Miguel and Holly, Uncensored.
Hello and welcome to Miguel and Holly Uncensored. It is our off-air podcast that we do 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We were not here on Monday, even though we did a show, and we'll get to that later on in the podcast today. But thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. We have officially, which I'm very sad about, we're at the end of spooky season. And I just...
Yeah. Are you, though? Because I feel like you didn't even really embrace spooky season the way you normally do.
You haven't even really scared me this
I know. I was
year.
like, literally yesterday, I was just sitting at my house. Apropos nothing. I go, they didn't really do Scare Wars.
Yeah.
At all.
No. It's
I tried.
Yeah, you did.
Failed.
He tried.
I mean, it was a fail, but it was a try.
It was a try. There's been so much is happening in the 3 weeks that officially it's like October.
Yeah.
That it's just been like boom, 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 boom. And that is exactly why when I had a few people that were like, I can't believe you're putting up Halloween decorations after Labor Day. And I'm like, that is exactly why, because October goes by so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it
And
does.
then you're like, oh, it's time for Thanksgiving. But that is why.
Just like that.
No, that's what I'll do on November 1st when we go. Good.
Why you sound like my dad? Like, why are you doing an impression of Tim O'Connor right now?
Happy Wednesday morning. We are live with me on It's Thanksgiving. That's what we'll do
Happy turkey season.
on Wednesday's show.
Oh, good.
With that, we want to bring back a very special guest that helped usher in spooky season for us last year here in the Queen City. We were only a few months in. Let's welcome Jason from SpookyCLT.
Hello.
Jason, how are you?
Good. And just to say that spooky season does not officially end until December 5th, which is Krampus, FYI. So there's hope for you.
Okay.
That's an official proclamation that I just made.
I'm here for
There you
it.
go.
I'm down for it.
Who's not to say that spooky things can't happen in November?
Yeah, absolutely.
My whole life is spooky, so
I mean, the pumpkin theming still happens throughout Thanksgiving. And then
Exactly.
historically speaking, like winter time is actually spookier than fall. Like winter used to be the time that people shared ghost stories and things like that because the nights are shorter, or like the nights are longer, colder. Back in the day, a lot more people were dropping off. So winter is actually still just as spooky as fall.
Now that I think about it, and like I don't know why you saying that just made a connection in my brain. What's that one the Christmas
Yes.
song where they're like scary ghost stories and tales of the glories from most wonderful time.
Exactly.
I'd always
Most
be like,
wonderful time of the year was
Scary
actually about spooky season.
Oh,
man, I feel like we're learning things today already.
Wow. Now, do you know a lot about like the history of Halloween, Jason, and like how we got the very commercialized version of it, but like the roots of it? And if you don't,
I mean,
Listen, you're putting him off.
it's a valid question. It goes back to Samhain and like Celtic traditions. It's obviously very, very different today here in America. That's what we do to everything. We commercialize it. But the roots are still there. People are still carving pumpkins, which used to be like turnips and things. But
I was gonna say, didn't they used to carve turnips? I feel like.
I think we perfected it with the pumpkin though.
Yes. 100%. I think my favorite thing is on Instagram when you have parents that like let their kids do it for the first time and their pumpkins look all like smashed and warped and stuff. I'm like, those are my favorite. Like, oh, look at my little kitty doing the
Well, I also
pumpkin
feel
carvings.
like 20 years ago, maybe longer than that. Okay, so maybe when I was a kid. I just feel like they didn't have pumpkin carving kits, or nobody had a good carved pumpkin. Like they all looked like we were 5 years old, and the faces looked like melting off, and nobody was really original. It was just like square eyes and a triangle nose and like a lopsided mouth, and everyone's looked that way. And then somehow over the course of my lifetime, people are like, look at my pumpkin because I'm an like aesthetic pumpkin carver, and that's changed. People didn't used to do that.
Is it easier now? Because when I did it, I almost like chopped my finger off, and now
No,
there's
it's still hard.
tools.
No,
Okay,
it
that's what I was
was.
gonna say.
It's still a little slippery and hard. I told you though, I had that good tip about sticking which you don't even have one, a hand mixer inside the pumpkin and whoop whoop whoop
Oh,
whoop,
that's
getting out all of the
Getting all
Dumping it out.
the guts. So Jason, how did you celebrate the beginning of spooky season this year?
So my spooky season has been very different because I'm a new dad. So
Congratulations.
I appreciate it. So yeah, our decorations inside the house have been very different to make sure nothing out there is pointy or, can get into the wrong hands. Yeah, but we're still obviously celebrating spooky season. At the beginning of the season, which honestly a lot of people declared was like July 5th this year, the day after July 4th. Declaring all that time. I don't know about that, but I like the enthusiasm. We watched Hocus Pocus to start things off. Hocus Pocus with apple cider mimosas, and I think we actually carved a watermelon at the time because it was July.
I mean, I'm not mad about that.
Oh, that is. Listen, I'm all about starting it early. Why not? Because, like I said, October goes by so quickly.
Goes too fast, yeah.
Why not go ahead and start it early? Because we don't have anything outside of my birthday to look forward to in Labor Day. So why not go ahead and start it early? So let's just sort of refresh. Who are and what is SpookyCLT?
Yeah, so I'm Jason. I run this account online called SpookyCLT, and there's a website as well. And what I'm trying to do is chronicle all of the ghost stories, all of the dark history, anything that's weird and unusual and falls underneath that spooky umbrella that has to do with Charlotte. I want it to be as easy as possible for people to find that stuff and learn about it, just as I did.
Now, because I know that there are so many people that love to bash and be like, well, Charlotte doesn't have a history and Charlotte doesn't have any sort of like culture or spooky things. What do you say to people that say that, Jason?
They're dead wrong. They are dead wrong. I get it. I am a transplant myself. I've not always lived in Charlotte. So I get it. If you're not looking for stuff and if you're not making an effort, you're not going to learn these things just by going to the same two breweries every weekend. So you do have to make an effort to learn your city's history and to learn, how do we become the Charlotte that you see today? And you'll be surprised at the stuff you learn along the way. But I'm doing my best to make it as easy as looking at an Instagram account and reading, a 3-sentence caption about something. I'm putting the work in, and I have learned so much over the past 5 years of doing this, and I get excited with every opportunity to tell people about it.
What are some of the new things that you've learned this year about Charlotte's spooky history?
So I'm glad you asked. So last year I told you about my favorite haunted location, which is the Dunhill Hotel, right?
I remember.
Can you just recap on that for people that missed it?
So it's right on Tryon Street. It is coming up on its 100 years of being an uptown. It is a hotel now, 10 floors. It has a history that over the past 100 years, a few people have passed because it was built during the Great Depression, and that's when it opened up. So the lore behind it is that a lot of people, used the public building to throw themselves off, unfortunately, to get out of the pains of the Depression. That is part of the lore, and it actually is well documented of people doing that at this location. But the ghosts that you'll find in there are pretty various. People have claimed to see shadows on the ceiling, a woman walking through the banquet hall that will disappear, hearing ghost laughs and things like that. The number one thing, though, is that when they were doing renovations on the building in the 80s, after it had been abandoned for about 10 years, is they found an intact skeleton at the bottom of the elevator shaft. So this happened in 88. They uncovered this, right? Had no idea who this guy was. They did all of the bones research and found that it was a Caucasian male with some like wrist abnormalities, but they had no idea who this guy was, and they couldn't pin him to any missing persons cases until July of this year, 2023. Wow. CMPD got access to a new DNA database system, and with that, they were able to link this cold case, this guy's remains, to the DNA of living relatives in Mooresville. So they were able to give this guy's bones to his last living family members in Mooresville, and they found out who he was. His name was Odell. He was a World War II vet. His family lived in Mooresville, and when he fell on hard times, he resorted to living on the streets of uptown Charlotte. And then sometime in the 80s, he must have found refuge in the abandoned Dunhill Hotel. But for the past, 30 plus years, we had no idea who this guy was. And then now in July, we have a name for him. Isn't that insane?
Really crazy.
That is nuts. Has anyone reported seeing any sort of ghost of him or anything like that? Or is it just the skeletons they saw?
So there is like a resident ghost at the Dunhill that they've called Dusty. And that's who they name all of like the poltergeist activity on. Things getting tossed off desks, stuff falling off the walls, just general mischief. In fact, they actually now have a drink at their bar named the Dusty, which I am very excited to try.
That's cool.
And I've tried to talk to them since finding out about this guy if the activity has continued, and it seems like yes. In the past, they've pinned the activity on him because they found his skeleton remains in the basement, which is like a good story to have, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's him. So I think personally, with this closure of someone finally understanding that it's this guy who died, and they know, like, his family knows what happened to him, I think that may be the end of it. There's always that lore.
Maybe he may go on.
Just like American Horror Story.
Yeah. Once they find peace and rest, and now their soul
Acknowledgement.
they can finally move on now that he
No
has
more unfinished business.
be reunited with the family.
That hotel is super creepy. I did my fiance planned like a really random date night where it was ghost tours all over Uptown, and that was our first stop.
Mhm.
And there's some rooms where their windows are like blocked off. Like you cannot stay in these particular rooms. I want to say maybe it's like the other half of it. I'm not sure, but you can see the difference in like people staying in some rooms and other rooms are just blocked off because you are not able to stay in those rooms.
God, it's just so freaky. I don't know if I'd be able to stay in a hotel like that. Like that would just be too much. Or maybe we
I
should do a
disagree.
Halloween
So
affair.
No.
my wife and I, after our wedding, we actually stayed there the weekend as like a staycation, and it was a really good experience. The
And by
room
good,
was nice.
I mean, what are we talking about? Good.
Brunch. Their bar was good. Their staff was friendly. All nice things. I want to make sure that they like SpookyCLT.
Ah, cool. You're like,
But
it's great.
I do mean it that it's a really nice hotel to stay at. The ghosts are a plus to me, not a minus.
Right. Well, you look for
a
that type of
benefit.
thing.
Right.
Like, I'm not trying to see any ghosts, okay? I'm trying to
I
just
mean,
hear
maybe
about
that's
it.
something we should do next year. We should do a little overnight stay with some ghost hunters and just see if we can run into Dusty.
Because
Yes.
this year's Lake Hickory haunts wasn't bad enough. Now we got to stay with actual ghosts.
Listen,
Like,
we
you
gotta
are
keep
out
upping
to
it.
murder me is what you're trying to do. I knew it.
So, Jason, what else have we learned this year about the spooky history of Charlotte, or things you've learned in the past that we didn't?
So there is another story that I'm really excited about, but I want to kind of give the overall history of Charlotte real quick and some aspects that make it spooky. Charlotte was built at our location because we're at the intersection of two trade routes, Tryon and Trade Street. That used to connect us all the way up and down the East Coast. And that trade route is hundreds of years old, and it crosses at Trade and Tryon. That's why we have our uptown there. That's why the settlers settled there. That's why 1 block away from that intersection is Old Settler Cemetery, with people buried there as far back as the 1700s. It's an old city, and that's where we came from, and that's where we built off of. The reason that we became a banking city is because we also found gold mines in this area as well. There's over 50 abandoned gold mines in this immediate area within like 10 miles of Uptown. All abandoned now. It's the Swiss cheese underneath our feet at the moment. When they built Panther Stadium, they found an abandoned mine. That's the reason why South Ends is called the Gold District. That's why we have the Mint here. It's why the Mint was here during the Civil War. Like, we found gold here.
The Mint Museum.
Exactly. Yeah, so underneath our feet at any time, you could possibly have a gold mine. In fact, there was a house that a young couple bought near the stadium actually, and when they started doing inspections on their house, they found this hole in their basement that was just covered up with the tarp at the time. But when they untarped it, they found a hole straight down 50 feet into a gold mine.
That was crazy. What? I'm sorry.
Insane.
Hell no.
It could happen to any of us.
Well, I just want to go down and I don't even have a basement, but if I did, I would want to go down in it and go find a gold mine. That's so stupid. Like, come
I would
on.
call somebody and be like, girl, I ain't going down in that hole.
Yeah,
For
so
gold, you would.
Charlotte is a very gold city. Now they find a lot of quartz in the area, but when they were paving the streets of Uptown, they were buying quartz, which they actually found had like gold speckles in it still. So you can literally there was headlines in the news that the Uptown Charlotte is literally paved with the gold because the quartz that they were using for pavement had possible traces of gold in it.
That is amazing. It kind of weirdly to me ties in with like Queen City, where it's like I know we have Charlotte, Queen Charlotte, but like also thinking of royalty and all these precious metals and things like that. It all ties together.
And it's illegal for people to dig it up, right?
I mean, you should call before you dig.
I just remember
by the city of Charlotte,
right? Wow, I love that every city has such a rich history, and I wish that there was a way for us to like get that story out because that's so fascinating. That
the signs are all over. The signs are all over. People just take in information differently now. So that's why I am on Instagram and TikTok.
Yes, and does the backstory lead into the other story that you have, the spooky story?
No, but I'm still very excited about it, and I think you'll appreciate it. So, in doing spooky research, trying to figure out ghost stories, lore, just anything that I didn't know about Charlotte, I actually went onto Reddit and put out there, hey, what ghost stories are of the area, and one that I would see frequently was a story of a satanic church off of Independence. And now I made a post about this on my Instagram, and I posted it every 3 months because every time I did, I would get so many people responding to it saying yes. In high school, my friends and I found this church in the woods. We investigated it. We found all the stories kind of sounded the same a little bit, but there would be 13 steps into a pond nearby where they were doing satanic baptisms, or there was the remains of dead animals that were used in sacrifices. And a lot of them said that they tried to investigate, but they would be ran off by people in black hoods out of white vans holding shotguns and things like that.
That sounds
crazy, but so many people were saying this.
Okay.
And it got to the point where people were commenting, talking all about investigating this place. And what I found is I actually found what house they're referring to that does it's a creepy Gothic manor that probably wouldn't look creepy if it wasn't just in the middle of the woods. But I'm giving you the short version. But this rich family moved into Charlotte. They bought all this land. They put this really nice manor in the middle of the woods. But they also put a mill. They put an orphanage. I think they opened up a church and then also a small hospital, all in this land. And then over the next 100 years, they started selling land to the city and to other areas. But the forest kind of grew around this manor, and the mill broke down, and it's all creepy. It's actually along a greenway now that the city owns. And this is the base for this story of where people kind of just made up this lore around this house, and it spread through the high schools that everyone knew about it and people were investigating it. And it kind of all came to a point where in 2005, the current owner of the house, which is one of the descendants of the original family, they sold the house. And the new and when they were selling it, they marketed it as a serene getaway from the busy city life of Charlotte. And within a few months, the new owners were people keep breaking into our land. They're starting fires. They're vandalizing. They're stealing our stuff. This is not a serene getaway. We are in the middle of an urban legend. We are the face of an urban legend, and we are going to continue having these trespassers. Y'all lied to us. They sued. The previous owners had to buy the house back. They lost hundreds of thousands of dollars on this deal. And now they still have the house, and I still have people on Instagram telling me, "Oh yeah, I visited this last week. Like someone was on the porch with a shotgun trying to scare me away." And I'm like, "Yes,
Like,
you
we
are
didn't.
trespassing on someone's land. Like y'all need to
Oh
stop this."
yeah.
I mean,
But I'm picturing
yeah.
that scene in Billy Madison where he's like, "I did," and he's like, "No, you didn't." And then lots of people are like, "Did you though, or did you?" It's one of those urban legends that becomes so big, it's almost bigger than itself, and the people say that they're involved or actually are involved, and you're right, are trespassing.
Mhm.
And that's what's craziest to me about this whole story. And I can understand why they tried to do this, but the original owner trying to sell it and not say a word about any of this, thinking it was going to go swimmingly.
Right.
Clearly not.
Yeah, I think it's just the result of some satanic panic from the 80s, 90s,
Absolutely.
which, got into the high schools, and all those kids who didn't have TikTok yet needed something to do, and they found themselves
literally.
trespassing
Every
and
city needs one of those
vandalizing.
places. I mean, or maybe not
100%.
needs, but has one. Every city has one of those things that like you just hear spooky stories about, and it's probably like, oh, that's not real. But like when you're a teenager, especially, you're like, well, maybe it is though. Oh,
I'm curious, for those of you that are watching live right now or that will be listening to this later on, what's that like spooky story from your town or the city that you grew up in? Text hits and that message to 96893. And if we get enough, we'll share some of those and we'll do like a special Halloween podcast.
did your town have one, Miguel, where you grew up?
No, nothing scary. It was more because it was like the early 2000s, and there was just like a bunch of rumors about this one city, because Atlanta's so big.
Yeah.
So there was like not one thing, but there was that one of the high schools that the kids had like a bunch of sex parties and stuff. So like that was like the rumor before the internet really, where we spread stuff like we do now.
Yeah.
But it was like, did you hear I think it was Rockdale High School, there was like all these like massive sex parties. And then our senior of high school, one of the news stations did like a whole like 7 p.m. primetime special where like a bunch of kids from Rockdale High actually got STDs. And there was, because these parties were actually happening. So
crazy.
Jesus.
So what
I
are we
never did
talking
that in
about?
high school.
yeah, neither did I.
Neither. Are you kidding me? Get out of here.
Yeah, so no, there was nothing like that outside of that. That was
well,
all
I
in Atlanta.
asked that because my hometown did have one. Probably not anymore, but that would be. I'm very interested in that topic because I feel like most cities do have something.
We have what is this? The Biltmore? I think it's called the Biltmore in Miami. It's in Coral Gables, and that one still has the 13th floor, I believe.
Oh,
And then there was an insane asylum that was actually, I think, an old army base, but we would go there out in high school all the time just to go out there and drink. Nothing would ever happen. And then my neighbor's house, constant people moving all the time. And I had one neighbor that I became really good friends with, and he stayed there the longest out of everybody. And he told me, he's like, my doors would just shut open and close all the time, and nobody was home. And I forgot who told me, but somebody said that where my neighbor was, there was like an animal slaughterhouse back in the day. And so that's probably what it may be, but I don't know. I've never seen anything.
Yeah.
Man, I can't.
When we do talk about it, remind me to tell you about Mutane Town.
Oh, Mutane Town.
Come on,
Yeah.
Mute.
Wow.
Mutane Town. Anyway,
So
not relevant to this particular thing at all. Sorry.
are there any other spooky things that we should watch out for here in the Queen City, especially, as we're going into I guess since you said we're keeping it till, later on, but if people are saying this is the last, I really want to dig into spooky stuff this weekend. What are some spooky places that people can sort of go check out?
So my like new favorite building is Lada Arcade in Uptown. Have y'all been there?
I have not.
It's like it's a building where it's like second floor office and retail space, first floor food vendors. So it's a 100+ year old building. It was built in 1914, and there's actually a barbershop that has been inside there and operating this entire time. So over 108 years old. Arcade men's room barbershop. Yep. Still operating. You can still go there and get a haircut. So the latest owner of it is actually the daughter of the owner who had it for the past 50 years, and he told her this story that there is a sign still hanging up in the shop that just says barbershop, and it's the only thing that will fall off the walls. It's the only thing that will fall off the walls and sometimes disappear for days at a time.
Good Lord.
And what they found is that that's the same sign that they used to put on their back door to signal to the workers of Uptown, the lawyers, the bankers, the politicians, that they were selling bootleg alcohol. They would put this specific sign up during Prohibition saying, "We got liquor to sell. Come and get your haircut," and leave with some libations. And when they didn't have any product, they would take it down and hang it back up inside the shop. Now, now it's affiliated with a ghost story that gets passed along. And the building itself has, you know, a few spirits possibly attached to it, but like all current tenants talk about how they can hear footsteps of people walk in or like doing laps upstairs almost in the late hours. So in my research of this building, I didn't find like a single person that was like murdered on site or anything. Like no bad juju for the building. I think that just after 100 years of nonstop people being in there working, I think people just kind of, you know, attach themselves to it. And during that time, you know, some people decided to stay, and now it's just like a place that has all these spirits in it. And the reason I know this is because actually on Friday the 13th of this month, I hosted a ghost tour and history walk of the building as a fundraiser for a headstone restoration project that I'm spearheading.
Oh, what's this about?
Yeah, so there's a headstone in Elmwood Cemetery. Charlie Hawk, he was killed by a lion in the year 1918 in Charlotte, North Carolina. I know, shocked faces, you're like, how did a guy get killed by a lion in Charlotte, North Carolina? And the answer is that he was a lion tamer for the circus.
I was like, he had to have been a lion tamer.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
No, he was just walking around, trade and try on. And the lion said, "How?"
Yeah, no. Okay, the poor guy. His career went very poorly, is what happened.
It ended poorly. But he was from Mount Holly, didn't really have any family besides that. So he was living with the circus when he passed away in Charlotte. You know, after getting his arm nearly ripped off by a lion. They buried him in Elmwood Cemetery. In his headstone to this day, even though it's cracked in 3 pieces and on the ground, it says Charlie Hawk killed by a lion. Melville Res Circus, 1918.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like if you work for the circus like that, like that's how you want to be remembered.
Yeah, they're not gonna, you know, bring his body back to Mount Holly where he was from. They're just gonna plop him down and move on to the next town because, you know, the show must go on.
Yeah.
But his headstone's broken into pieces, doesn't have any living family that I have found. I want to be able to continue telling the story about Charlie Hawk, who was killed by a lion. And to do so, I need to make sure that his headstone is there so people believe me. So I am raising the money to have it restored. And the Ghost Hunt of Latta Arcade was a fundraiser for this.
And
How much?
Did you see something spooky there while you were having this fundraiser?
So no, because like I was running this event, you know.
You were actually busy raising funds. You didn't have time.
Yeah, I was. Yeah,
Hunt.
It broke my heart because I sold myself. I'm like, all right, you know, I'm going to talk about the history to this big group of people. There's about 60 people there. And then like the back half of it, the Charlotte Area Paranormal Society, CAPS, they led the ghost hunt portion of it. So we broke into 4 small groups, rotated around some hot spots in the areas. And they used their equipment, the spirit boxes, the heat thermometer, vision, that stuff. Just all that stuff you see on the ghost shows. We did get some hits for the spirit boxes, things that, creepy things that were said were like when we were downstairs in the barbershop, a voice said, she's upstairs. And then when we were upstairs, right above the barbershop, the voice said, she won't listen. We don't know what that means, but it came through and it felt like it was a continuing story almost about whoever this she is.
I'm about to say, it just gave me chill bumps. I don't even want to know the story now. Wow. Now,
Yep, go ahead.
I was going to say, how is the fundraising going for the headstone?
Good. I you know, it's tough because I am working with Elmwood. They have this angel donor program set up where headstones of people without any families, if it's broken or need replacement, they kind of have like a GoFundMe for each one, where like you can directly donate to a particular headstone if it means something to you. So for this headstone, raising $3,500, I have given them a good proportion amount of money, definitely over $2,000. But I can't track how much is being donated to this moment. And I'm really hoping for that email where they said, congratulations, you raised all the funds. We're going to have this repaired, soon. But until I get that email, I'm going to continue spreading the word and raising money.
Where can people go donate to this headstone?
SpookyCLT.com. Not only will you see Charlie Hawk killed by a lion, with the history, a little map of where his headstone is currently, newspaper clippings from when he died, but you could also find all the other spooky CLT stuff on there as well.
Well,
Awesome.
Jason, thank you so much for spending some time with us to get us into the spooky season as we reach the climax of everything.
For sure.
Real quick, what's your favorite scary movie?
That is a tough question, but I am going to have to say it's Scream. No other movie does it like Scream did, where you watch it and you feel like you're watching every scary movie.
Yeah.
Did you like Totally Killer? Totally Killer was a good like little representation, almost like an homage.
So I haven't seen it yet. I get like 45 minutes of TV a night now. And
welcome
and I have to pick and
for.
choose. And my wife is like the biggest fan of the ghost shows, Ghost Adventures and stuff. So for the past like 2 weeks, when we have our 45 minutes of ourselves before we go to bed at our old people bedtime, we watch an episode of Ghost Adventures, but we turn it into a drinking game where we drink every time they say dude or swear or say what was that. Every time they do something just outlandish, we take a drink, and there's no other way I ever want to watch any of those ghost shows now.
Yeah, you're winning.
Fantastic. 100%.
Love it.
Well, Jason, thank you so much for spending time with us. We appreciate it. Congratulations on the new baby.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Stay spooky.
Yes, absolutely. Ooh.
Spooky vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I was looking to see some of the comments. Chrissy, I'll send you a story from that house we lost in Panama City to Michael in Springfield. It was absolutely haunted. Interesting. I find it haunted stories so fascinating.
I know.
Because I've never experienced anything like that before.
Thank God.
Same.
I mean, I don't want to. No. I mean, I've had creepy experiences. Like I told you, I had to move out of one apartment once after I watched The Exorcism of Emily Rose. And I felt like a face was coming. I felt like I was like living in lucid dreaming for a week. And I was like, I can't live here anymore. But other than that, thank God.
That's the thing about me, is that if I watch scary movies, I love them. But if I watch them either back to back or they really just like stick with me, that's it. It's a wrap. I dream about it. I constantly am thinking about it. I have this like addicted personality.
Recognizing it. You're like, I'm going to do this. That's why I get too scared. And I really want to get into Follow the House of Usher, which I'm going to try to push my fiance into this weekend, maybe because it's like Halloween time, but I'm afraid I don't even know what it's about. Like, all I can tell you is that when we watched The Haunting of Hill House, and this is a mini spoiler, but I mean, it's been out for years. Remember Tall Man with the hat? Like, whenever I had to get out of the bedroom and it's dark in the house to go get, make my coffee for work and whatever, and it's dark everywhere in the house, I'd be so afraid that tall man would be in the kitchen.
He is in the kitchen.
Yes.
No, I know. Thanks a lot. Y'all are so creepy.
But here's the thing, though, like the reason why I love the Mike Flanagan shows is because like the first 3 episodes, when you're still trying to piece together like what's happening and what it's about, everything is so creepy. And then like once it clicks into place about like what's happening, then it's always a human story.
Yes.
And it's always about what could feel like real people making real decisions. And so then it's not, to me, not as creepy, but now you're invested into these people.
It's all psychological.
Right. And then you just want to get to the end, to the conclusion. And so right now, since Abe has been back and, been posted up at home, he's been watching it. And so as I was like doing some cleaning around the house yesterday, I had my AirPods in listening to a podcast, but I would take them off just to like watch. And I'm like, they really do such a great job of like setting all these little plot points and breadcrumbs leading to like what's going to be the big conclusion.
And I feel like sometime in my schooling, I actually read Fall of the House of Usher. So I feel like I probably actually know the story once it gets going. Because we did a whole unit, I feel like, on Edgar Allan Poe.
Yes.
And so once that story maybe starts clickety clacking, I'll be like, ooh, I think I know what happens here. So I shouldn't be so nervous about it because it is the classic, like a twist on the classic.
It is.
Right?
And like, yes. And like I say, like, it's not a show that's going to leave you creeped out, but there are some jump scares that will make you go, ah, shit!
Okay.
I'm a screamer.
Right. But like the story itself won't leave you creeped out.
Yeah.
All right, we got to give somebody some money.
Oh. Ooh, I'm excited. Okay.
So we're gonna call someone because remember, Holly set this up about what we were doing for the past like few months.
All right. So a few months ago, we realized that we were pretty close to 500 reviews on Apple Podcasts. I don't know how close we were. It felt like close enough that it was significant, but so far, I literally didn't think we'd reach 500 by the end of the year. But after encouraging and you and the Platypus Posse being like, we're going to do it all together, which is amazing. We got to 500 reviews, which is awesome. And so now we've got the 500 reviews on Apple Podcasts. And by the way, don't let that stop you. Like, if you want a review, please do.
1,000 next.
Yes, onward.
I was going to say maybe let's try to do like another 100 or something,
Yeah,
or maybe
600.
200 in 2024.
Oh.
Yeah. However, so we kept saying we're going to give $50 away to a random Platypus Posse member once we hit 500. We just didn't know how we were going to do it. Well, then Miguel, tipping my hat to you for coming up with the way that you did this the last time we did a podcast, which is where we just put it at the end of the audio only. And then like the 50th person to text us is going to win that $50.
The 50th text came in. When was the 22nd?
You sit there and go count because I
did.
I know.
Mhm.
I did.
I was like, woo!
I literally was like,
And you counted repeats, correct?
yes, I did.
Yeah.
I said repeat. So I said text as many times because you don't know.
Right.
Which going to be number 50?
Yeah, I mean, like we still had some texts coming in this morning.
Yes.
From people that were probably just catching up on the podcast then. So this text, the 50th text came in the 22nd. Was that Sunday? The 22nd?
I gotta look at this.
Is
Yes.
The second. Okay, so this came in at 6:45 p.m. on Sunday.
Ooh.
Okay.
So let's just call this person and see if they pick up. They may not, since they listen.
Do we go to the next one if they don't answer?
No.
Oh.
We said 50th. I just wanted to talk to them on the podcast if they answer. Let's see here. Sometimes it rings, sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
If you're
Your
watching.
call has been forwarded.
Wow. Oh no.
It's hard to answer a number that you don't know.
I know, right?
I love answering all of them.
You do?
Yeah, I'll answer whoever. Unless it says spam, obviously, or like Medicare,
Oh, well, yeah.
which is usually Medicare.
Yeah.
Let me see here. All right, somebody literally just texted in. They said,
know.
"Is this me?" Well, I'm gonna put their name up here, and we're gonna give a big
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Here we go.
Do you see the tone changed in that? Like the first one was like, "This person is not available,"
It was like two different ones.
and now it's like, "Off! You called once." Congratulations, it's a hero!
Congratulations.
Congratulations to Hira. She texted in a lot.
Tahira.
So that's why I had to like zoom in. I had to take it off the big screen and put it on my computer so I could like go doot 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 doot. So in the midst of her like texting in her name like 10 times, I think like the 6th one was the 50th. So congratulations to Hira. When you hear this, reach out on the Miguel and Holly Instagram so we can get your Venmo or your Cash App or whatever, and we will send you the $50.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Fun.
We appreciate it.
Love that.
All right. So I did also want to tell you why we weren't here on Monday for the podcast. Carly, she said, I just finished the last podcast and texted.
Oh, girl. You just missed it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And
girl.
also you weren't 50 anyway, but thank you for doing it.
Yes. So Saturday, Abe drove back in from Florida, from Tampa. He was there dealing with this will be an interesting story. I need to see if I can tell this story because I just don't know, like, because we've been renting out our house that we have there, and he had to drive down to deal with a tenant. I'll say,
yeah.
I
want to hear the whole story. I know the highlights, but I would like to hear.
I because I don't know.
I didn't know you actually gave the keys to that said tenant.
That was the problem,
right?
Well, I mean, technically, because it's computerized, they don't have a key. It's all the keypad.
That's right.
Right. So that's
fancy.
Right. So, well, girl, you spend that much money on a new house.
I know that's right.
Okay, you better have all the top-notch stuff. But Abe is the property manager. That's what he does. He deals with all of that, and so he had to drive down to deal with a situation.
A situation.
So he got back Saturday night, and we hung out Saturday evening, and then Sunday was like we're not hanging out with any friends. We're just cuddling on the couch, watching scary movies, because this weekend coming up, we are going upstate New York for my brother-in-law's wedding. So Saturday morning, I woke up like super early because we didn't go out. So I like woke up Sunday morning and I'm like cleaning the house. And then I saw this funny like meme where it was like, the best time to drink, it's better to drink in the morning than close to bed. So I was like, girl, we're going to pop some champagne at 9 o'clock this morning, girl. So I made eggs. I had bacon. I had some champagne. We were feeling good, girl. And then he comes out and I'm like, I made you breakfast. He's like, my stomach hurts. And I was like, oh God, what happened? Because this stomach can be a little bit more sensitive than mine. And I'm like, I didn't make chicken parm the night before. Like, was it that? Did you eat too much? So throughout the day, I was like, well, it'll get better. Poor Abe. Like it just never got better. I mean, there was like one point around like 4:00. We were watching the Goosebumps show on Hulu and Disney Plus, which is really good, by the way.
Is it scary or is it so goosebumpy kiddish?
It's not like the show we watched back then where it's like, it's scary, haha. It's spooky, but like not like I would watch this show by myself at night.
Oh, okay.
It's not that spooky. It's just intense. There was one point where I had went to the bathroom and I was walking out and he was just sitting up on the couch with his head in his hands like this. And I was like, how bad is it? And he was like, I think I have to go puke. Like, this is really bad. And that's when I was like, oh, wait a minute. Oh. I had my appendix out. And I remember that was one of the things because I woke up in the middle of the night when I had mine out and my stomach was hurting really badly. And I went to go use the bathroom. And then like, that feeling when you're like, this isn't going to pass and this isn't a gastrointestinal thing. And I was like, this sounds not good. And I was like, he's like, well, let's just wait. And then it was like 8:30 and I'm like on the couch and, I was ready for bed. And he was like, I went to go to the hospital. And I was like, oh, here we go.
That's when it's really bad.
Yes.
Because I feel like I don't know. Thankfully, I've never gotten to this place. But like, when you have to admit and be like, take me to the fucking ER. I can't take it.
100%.
Like, we need to do something.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
You that it's bad.
So we went to the hospital and I got to give credit to this hospital, Atrium Health. They took him in and it was like, he didn't have to wait. I mean, as soon as we got in, they took him to the triage, got everything. They took him back for some CT scans and everything. And they were like, yep, it's your appendix. You're going to have surgery. So then I was like, do you want me to stay? Because it's 11 o'clock on Sunday.
You're like, I do have a job.
And he was like, no, you're fine. You can go. I was like, whoo, okay. That's like, so I went home. And then Monday, What's it?
I don't even know.
This whole week has
2
just been
days
so
ago.
messed up.
man.
Yeah.
Monday they was
They did the
supposed to be
surgery.
at noon.
Yeah.
Got there right after the show. And then it was like, hurry up and wait. And then it was like, boom, he was done. So here's the point where I was like, you bitches, I thought I was about to have to fall out on the floor. They have the surgical waiting room. So I was sitting there like, because I went through an appendix surgery and everything was fine. It was quick and it was easy. And everyone else in the waiting room, they would go, Holly O'Connor, please come to the thing to consult the doctor about your mother.
Uh-huh.
And so you walk over, they talk to you in private. Not once in the hour and a half I was there did I see a doctor. All of a sudden, I'm typing writing out our schedule for Tuesday's show. Like Hottie McHotterson doctor walks over to me, and I was like, first I was like, oh, hey. Wait, why is the doctor coming out to talk to me? And so then I'm like looking at him in his eyes, and he goes, are you Miguel? And I was like, yes. And he was like, your husband is Abram? And I was like, bitch,
You're like, what are you about to tell me
fuck are you about
now?
to say to me? Because I have not seen a doctor come out and talk to anybody else. And he was like, everything went great. Here's some things. I was like, bitch, I'm gonna kill you.
You're like, that's not the way to set it
Yeah,
up, sir.
for real, bitch.
What?
Oh,
How do you
HIPAA laws,
give
maybe
people
HIPAA.
bad news. Like, what are
Right.
you doing?
I was like, what? Everyone, like, they have a whole text thing that was telling me, like, what he's in surgery. Surgery's going well. And I was like, oh my God. And so I didn't even hear what he said. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Just you being here, like, threw me off. So I didn't hear the first, like, minute things you said. Can you repeat what you said so I can write it down? Because, doctors are like, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this.
Yeah.
And
You
I was
always better keep a notepad on your phone.
Literally.
Or if you're not good at that, pen and paper, because you need to have a record of what
No, it's
doctors say to
true.
you.
So I was like, okay, he can't shower for 24 hours and this and this and this and this and this. So everything was fine. But then here's the part where we talked about this on air. Also on Monday, I was supposed to go to the John Mayer show because I had bought tickets back in March for third row John Mayer, because this was his acoustic concert to where he was performing all of his old stuff. So
The
people like
greatest hits.
Yes, like for people like me who found him when he was beginning his career and I was a junior in high school, he was playing those songs that he only weaves through current shows now. And so I was like, and we had this whole bit on the air where I talked to my parents-in-law and they were like, if he's fine, go to the concert. Like, go to it, enjoy it. As long as you have someone on call or someone that can sit with Abe, go to the show. So like all day, I was like, I don't want to think about the show because I don't want to be like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up.
But you are.
But I was like, hurry up,
it.
hurry up, hurry up, hurry up.
And there's no hurrying the medical community, if anything. Like, there's just none. It's like the court system. They will take its own time.
Mm-hmm. So I did have a friend. I have to give a shout out once again to my friend, Eric Dunnermeyer, who is the GOAT, because I was like, hey, here's a situation. Abe obviously is not going to be able to go. But if I am able to go, can you go with me? But I don't know what time. Like, I'm going to be able to like get home and be at the Spectrum Center. But he lives close. So I'm like, you're on call, but it may not happen. And he was like, whatever you need, I live close. I'm ready. And so like around like 6 o'clock, I was like, Abe had come out of surgery. He was in the room. He was like coming in and out of sleep. And I was like, maybe, possibly. And then when the nurse came in and said, what's your pain level? And he was like, a 7. That's when I was like, no, because the pain has to be managed before we can go home. And he was still kind of out of it because he would like wake up and then be like, oh, you just got here. And I was like, I've been here the whole time. He didn't know.
Yeah, no.
And so it was like 7:30. And I'm like, I know John Mayer doesn't go on till 9. So maybe. And then I was like, nope. And then Ticketmaster was like, you can sell your tickets through Ticketmaster. And so I was like, oh, that's cool. So I did. I put them up on Ticketmaster. And I was like, maybe. And then 20 minutes later, they sold. So
that's the way to do it. I wish I had known that when Taylor Swift was in Tampa. Like, you just wait until the day of the show and then buy someone's tickets that can't go.
Yeah, I mean, literally, because there's always going to be something that happens. So I would say, because I didn't know that either. I just saw it was an option when I was like, well, maybe I can transfer the tickets to Eric and he can go with someone else. So yeah, so
Did he not tell you at all, like when he woke up, like go, or no?
No,
No.
Like when he woke up, well, literally, and this is why I've been feeling very conflicted about it. Or not conflicted. I feel bad for him is because he knew the concert was happening that day, and I never brought it up to him because I didn't want him to be like, "Oh my God, I feel bad." I'm like, you need to heal.
Yeah.
No.
Don't worry about me and my fucking concert. That's fine. But he did bring it up at one point, and he was like, "This is the John Mayer show," and I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "This takes precedence over it, so it's fine." But
look at you.
That did it. I'm just kidding.
No, the only part where I got like a little sad is because we didn't get home till Monday until like midnight. Because then like we finally got him into the car. We had to go to a different pharmacy because it was a 24-hour one, and it's over near the mall, South Park Mall. So it's a good 20 minutes away from Uptown. So when we get there, they hadn't sent the prescription yet.
Oh.
And so then they were like, well, it'll be about an hour before. And I was like,
Bitch.
and then Abe was, and I felt so bad. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. I'll go drop you off at home. And maybe by the time I get back, it'll be ready. It's fine. It's fine.
It just makes me mad.
Oh, you're a good hubby.
It's fine. So I think what happened was that when I woke up Tuesday for the show, I was like exhausted from the past 2 days, and just like, when you're tired and like your threshold of emotions, like you're just raw.
Yes.
And so when I woke up Tuesday, turned the shower on, went to go sit down and use the bathroom, open up my phone, and the very first Instagram story I see is someone at the John Mayer show. And I just had like 2 tears just went down my face.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I'm exhausted or it's just
Yeah.
because I'm sad. I think it's just all the feelings.
It was all of it all together.
Right.
It's true. When you have a lack of sleep, everything is magnified and everything is the worst. Like that's why not last week, but the week before when we got the puppy, like I was not doing well. My mentals were bad.
Yes.
Because when you get lack of sleep like that, everything is just worse. And like all of your triggers or like your deep wounds somehow find themselves to the surface when you're tired. So like obviously like logical brain Miguel is like, I'm doing the right thing.
100%.
Like, and obviously you would want Abe to do the same for you in your situation.
100.
Yeah.
But like that doesn't prevent part of you from wanting to have gone to this concert. And like it could even be a childlike part that didn't get that, like some little version of Miguel that didn't get what he wanted because he had to be a grown-up when it wasn't time.
Right.
It could be any of these things. And so when you're tired though, those wounds way down just come up and they're like, but I'm sad. And you're like, yes, I am sad. I'm sad. Like,
right. I just want you to picture this moment. Like I'm in the little bathroom. I'm butt ass naked. I'm on the toilet. I'm literally peeing. I'm on Instagram and I hear, why Georgia? Why? And I'm like,
God.
But then as I'm crying, I'm still peeing too at the same time. And it's just
a lot of liquid
Lots of
coming out.
liquid.
A lot.
it was just, and then I had to laugh at myself because I was like, bitch, get your shit together. Like, you're being ridiculous. So I did go through all the people that I knew that were going to John Mayer and look at their stuff. In the past 2 days, I found this John Mayer on a rainy day playlist on YouTube.
Ooh.
And so it's been very comforting in the morning as I'm putting the schedule together. I've been listening to that. So,
Okay.
And you'll go on tour again in a few years.
Right.
It'll happen.
Yeah. You'll be
it will happen.
front row.
Right. Because on the air, I was like, I got third row, haha. Like literally not thinking. I was like, I thought I got somewhere like, fifth or seventh. I know I actually did buy third row, and I was like, shit, Miguel.
Girl, how could you forget that?
Because that was in March.
Oh,
True.
Lots happened since then.
Yes, it has. Lord.
Well, thank you for listening to me. First world problems. So
First world. But it's your world.
it is.
That's valid.
Well,
Because I'd be very upset too.
Mhm. I mean, he is going, overseas to the UK and to Europe in the spring on this tour. So,
I mean, look at that.
What a beautiful excuse to go to Europe.
Right?
Go see your favorite artist. Oh,
Girl, I don't know if we got Europe money for that after all that. So I'm just happy to get the money back that we got.
Yeah.
Holly, what's your social media people can find you?
Radio Holly on all of the things. Thank you very much.
Producer Kelvin?
At Kelvin Live, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and find me on PlayStation. Bussy Killer. Without the U.
No, yeah. Okay.
So all it's missing is you.
You can find me at Miguel Fuller on Instagram, TikTok. And can I just acknowledge you just say this out loud? Like, I look, and I'm not, this isn't like fishing at all. You know, like just when you look tired, like Holly, that week you had the dog, like you look tired.
Yeah, I look tired. Mm-hmm.
I literally, after the show, I went to the bathroom and I like looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, I look like crazy. Like,
you've been going through it, girl. Like I've noticed every single day, but no, that's okay.
That Monday though?
The Monday was the worst. Like I was like, oh no, I haven't seen Miguel look like this in a minute.
I mean, it's to me like I'm not like, oh my God, it's just funny. Like I looked at myself and I'm like if I got up close to you right now, you'd be like, woo, girl.
You're like, did you take a mental health day? Like, go ahead.
Go home.
All right, let's go home, girl. We're done. Bye.
Miguel and Holly Uncensored.
Catch it on the iHeart